Hello, everyone, and welcome to Pod TV's #1 advocate TV show, Timeshares, Solutions or Surrender with Irene Parker. We are on our 17th episode today, and we have seen many great results and solutions come out of this show. Please text us your problems if you happen to have any so that we can bring you on board and show you some do-it-yourself solutions. Please remember our disclaimer that this is not legal advice. This is for educational purposes only. And if you need legal advice, seek your own legal counsel. So everyone, please help me welcome Irene Parker, who is what I call my hero in the timeshare industry. Hello, Irene.
Hi, it's nice to be back. I can't believe this is episode 17. And I just want to qualify your statement to seek an attorney. So that can be good advice, but it's been the history that attorneys that don't have timeshare experience have a tendency to do more harm than good. And so we don't promote law firms, we don't promote exit companies, but if you receive something ugly in the mail, like one of our guests today received a subpoena, you need an attorney. Now that we've had so many episodes, I focused this show on people who were promised by sales agent the ability to rent out their timeshare to offset their costs. Some said you could offset your loan costs, you can make money. And what is infuriating is these are all timeshare sales agents. We have 7 accounts from 6 different timeshare developers with sales agents that have been promoting renting when that's not an easy thing to do. And yet on the Florida Attorney General's, when I searched Florida Attorney General timeshare investigations, this is what I found. The Attorney General's office protects timeshare owners by investigating the business practices of telemarketing companies that market their advertising services to timeshare owners interested in renting or selling. There's no investigations at present that I'm aware of working on the timeshare sales agents themselves that are promoting this. Blue Green has suspended hundreds of accounts. I know for sure of some of the people that were suspended, they were not engaged in commercial activity. So I've asked all 4 of our guests to appear on stage at the same time, and then we'll maybe take a break midway through and talk about the most glaring changes that need to be made in the timeshare industry. So we're going to start today with Cassandra in Georgia and Sherida in Minnesota. And we had our 3rd guest is Lori, also in Minnesota, a neighbor almost to Sherida. And Lori's husband, Mark, was on several episodes ago when they had received a subpoena. They had purchased at Hilton Grand Vacations, and the most recent purchase told they had to upgrade to HGV Max, and this drove them into default, including $24,000 to American Express. And Lori negotiated that amount down to $10,000. So we're going to be doing a follow-up with her report later. But let's start with Cassandra. And Cassandra, if you can tell us how you ended up on our show today, what, when, where, why, what happened?
Actually, I found you on Facebook because I joined the group about the timeshare. But last year, me and my family went to Las Vegas on a vacation. So what happened was we came across some vendors that were outside offering timeshare or offering to just do the presentation. So we took them up on the offer. They were offering money, also offering kind of some incentives to do the timeshare. So we did the presentation. They said only 90 minutes. It took longer than 90 minutes. Um, we kept telling them that's okay, that's okay. But at the time we got ready to exit, the gentleman talked to me, told me, "Oh, this would be great for you. We have one that's for 6,000 in Florida." It was an elderly couple. They didn't have any kids. They couldn't use it. We can give it to you for 6,000.
And what
Also,
timeshare?
hey,
What timeshare was it?
vacation village.
Okay, and which particular resort? They have several.
I went to the Grandview in Las Vegas,
Okay,
but
and
the
where
one
did you
that
purchase? Yeah,
Weston in
in
Orlando, in
in
Florida.
Orlando.
hmm
Okay, okay, and then what influenced you to change your mind? How long did the presentation last total?
About 4 hours.
Okay, so you went ahead and bought. What influenced you to buy?
I do a lot of traveling with my kids, but what kind of stood out, the gentleman before we signed, he told us that if we didn't use the vacation times that they gave us, he could sell those because, hey, um, the Super Bowl is coming in February. And if you allow me, I can sell the days for you. And then that should pay off your timeshare. I asked him, "Are you sure?" He's like, "Yeah, I can sell it for you and pay off your timeshare." So then I spoke with my kids and we said, well, if he can do it and sell it to where we'll just do the maintenance, then that sounds a good deal.
Yeah, and you're learning the lingo. So what you meant to say is he would rent it for you.
Yes.
Yes, if he would sell it, you wouldn't own it anymore. It would be gone.
Right. So
Yes.
he offered to rent the days for us to cash in our days, and he will rent those days for us.
And when did you buy?
I bought in April of last year,
Okay.
2023. hmm
Okay, and so Super Bowl coming up in February, did you try to rent it?
So what happened was I found out that I had to finish putting down a deposit because I didn't pay all the deposit, which he wanted $1,000 down deposit. So what we did was about August, we paid off the deposit. I contacted him, but to no avail, didn't respond.
What a surprise. Okay, and so then okay, so then Super Bowl came and went.
Super Bowl came and went. No, had not talked to him until probably some months after Super Bowl. Um, I wanted I wanted him to rent it, but he just told me, "I'm sorry, I hadn't got back in contact with you. I've been sick. I've been out the country and I was sick." And then he told me if I wanted to rent it to go through I think red wine
Red
or
Week.
Red
red
Week.
one,
Red
red
Week.
wheat. Yes.
Uh-huh. Okay, and Timeshare Users Group is also a rental platform. We've had admin Brian Rogers on our show before. And Sherida, does any of this sound familiar?
Boy, does it ever, except our sales agent said she had a very good friend who could sell our Westgate and then rent the bonus weeks from Vacation Village to pay for ours. But of course, that didn't happen. I'd like to say, though, that a lot of the timeshare resorts owners can go onto their own dashboard to see what weeks they have and what they've used previously, their histories. But Vacation Village doesn't have that. So you're kind of working blindly. You have to call
vacation village to find out, well, do I have a week this year, or did I deposit it in interval, or how does that work? And it's really um, a disadvantage to those of us who own vacation village.
So you can't see.
No, you can't see what you have. You can't see. You can. They either have it your week at vacation village, or if you deposit it in interval, that's what you have to do if you want to use anything in-house at another vacation village, or if you want to book something else. But you can't see anything. You have to call them to tell them.
We had a question came in from Terry McCain. Cassandra, how did you pay for the down payment?
Through my credit card.
Okay, did you charge $1,000 to your credit card, or?
No, I kind of paid monthly.
So you financed the down payment?
Yes, I did.
Okay, so that's kind of a difficult thing, because you have then the loan payments on top of the payments for the down payment.
Right.
Too many payments. And Sherida, she sounded just like you when she called me like 3 years ago. And she's learned quite a bit since then. So I'm glad that you got to meet with her, because now okay, Terry is also asking, so how could they require you to pay off the down payment if it was paid by credit card? Did you pay the whole down payment at once, or did you
No,
waited
I
till you?
paid. Right. I paid monthly until I paid, because before I left, we paid about, I think maybe 200 and something on our credit card. And then in order to get the number, the access number, I don't use my timeshare, so I really don't know the lingo, but I had to get an RCI number. So I think that's what it is. So I had to pay the deposit, get the RCI number, and then I was able to use the timeshare.
To exchange it?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And then Sherida, have you used RCI to rent your vacation village out?
No, I've only used interval, and I have heard that interval has a lot better choices than RCI.
Well, and RCI fees have gone through the roof. I don't know if they're comparable to Interval International or not, probably.
Yeah, I just exchanged a couple of vacation villages for Arubas, and each exchange was 179.
But not vacation village in Aruba.
I exchanged a vacation village for an Aruba on interval.
Was it a vacation village resort in Aruba?
Yep.
Oh, I
No,
didn't know.
it's a Marriott.
Okay, and why didn't you rent out the vacation village?
Because it's too hard to rent out. If you remember, I did rent the vacation village back when we were having most of this trouble, and I thought that it was a setup, remember? But it was a successful rental.
Yes, and you also use Koala?
I used Koala, and in fact, the rental I did with Vacation Village that did rent was through Airbnb.
On Koala.
No,
Okay.
Airbnb.
Oh, okay. All right. I didn't know if Koala used Airbnb or not.
No, and Koala, I don't think they have Vacation Village as accessibility because it's not one of the best timeshares to rent out.
Yeah, I've heard the word junk used from time to time. And next week we're scheduled to have the co-founder of Koala, Mike Kennedy, on. I had the opportunity to meet with him and his partner when he launched Koala. The good thing about them is they do vet the renter. A lot of the problems with renting is people don't know what they have. And so you have the people renting that get there and it's not what they expected it to be. Now, go ahead and let us know about your current opportunity that you turned lemons into lemonade and who you work for.
Oh, well, I got my real estate license just like you, Irene. We both passed earlier, beginning of the year or end of last year. And now I'm working as an office manager slash transaction coordinator for a broker in Florida who rents and sells Marriotts for those who want to sell their Marriotts and for those who want to buy them.
And rent them.
Yes.
Yeah, and one of the things that you have to be very concerned with, Cassandra, is, and anyone buying a timeshare, is there's been an absolute nightmare of developer rental scams. And to make it worse, even though all the reports say the sales agent told me I should buy more points to rent, just like Cassandra and Sherida were told, they then are suspending accounts. Blue Green has suspended hundreds of accounts rather than work with the owner that bought more points to rent, that often would drive them into default. But when they found out not everybody has the time and attention, Sherida, that you put into this. And then Wyndham now has been, we've heard from 3 Wyndham people, and we have Tom is going to be an upcoming guest. We had Gary on a few weeks ago that were told that they should buy more points to rent. And Tom has received a cease and desist letter to stop renting. So you really have to check. And this is another argument for deeds versus legacy points. And Sherida's firm, they really don't like you to know who they are. It's an unusual business that doesn't want you to know their name because he's afraid he'll get all the junk calls from the Vacation Village and the Club Exploria owners, and it's you just find it easier to work with Marriott and Disney, I believe, right, Sherida?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah. Okay. So what are you renting out now, Sherida? You own at Westgate? Have you?
Yeah, we used our Westgate this year to come and visit you.
Oh, that's right.
Yeah, and as far as the Vacation Village, I put them all on interval, and it gave me enough points to do 3 or 4 rentals. And I've got 2 with Aruba, Marriott Aruba, and 1 with Marriott Newport Coast. And it's a gamble, trying to get it rented. And you have to watch the prices, but it's better than not trying.
So sometimes do you have to rent it and then come down on the price?
Yeah, I watch the prices as it gets closer to check-in. I'll bring the prices down a little bit, and try to entice someone to rent. And I did rent 2 Newport Coasts last year in November.
Your own personal timeshares.
Yeah, those were our timeshares, our Vacation Village, and that's what I rented to help pay for our maintenance fees.
Have you attempted to rent your Westgate week out?
I did a couple years ago, and I don't recall. I think maybe one of them did not rent, which isn't surprising. It's Westgate in Orlando.
So then do you try to use it or do you just let it go?
I just let it go. It's because we're in Minnesota, it's just too much trouble, too much cost to go down there. So just let it go.
Well, I understand. So of Koala and Red Week and Timeshare Users Group, is there any preference you have of renting or selling with those resources?
With Koala, they have their silver level, at least that's what it used to be called. It's a do-it-yourselfer, and you don't pay anything at all to rent. And there's assistance on their website on how to do it and how to price your rentals. And they take a small fee after it's rented. If it's not rented, they don't take a fee. But Red Week, it costs $49 to list something on Red Week.
Okay, and I know that Timeshare Users Group has a free site to be able to rent there too. And it should also be determined that, renting is not a reason to buy a timeshare. It's actually illegal to sell a timeshare as an investment in Florida. And we had one Westgate person that they were actually, their family owned a home in Orlando, so they didn't need an Orlando timeshare. And they said, oh, you have a t-shirt business in Boston. You can combine your Boston business with your Westgate rental business. And that's definitely selling as an investment. And Carl has been on our show a number of times, and just want to put in a little commercial for Carl, who is hoping people will show up to, he's organizing a protest at the Queen of Versailles musical based on the Netflix documentary that with their 90,000 square foot home, with people, an endless supply of people, several Westgate that have reached out that are just devastated. Now, one family that I would put in the devastated category, Lori, I think what you and Mark have gone through has been devastating, in my opinion. And before you experienced the defaults with Diamond Resorts, now acquired by Hilton Grand Vacations, and the battle you had with American Express, did you have a good credit score all your life?
I did. I had a great credit score. I could buy anything. It was up in the 700 something, 750s, or it was pretty high. We were quite proud of it. I always paid my bills early. So,
yeah. And
go.
so this is so important for members to support members, because you do feel all alone when something happens. And when your husband Mark was on before, he was kind of feeling his way through, because you were the one that interacted with me when you were attempting to get your thoughts together. And like many people, you didn't really know what you bought. And I remember I have our notes from way back then, where you first purchased 8,000 points in 2019.
Mm-hmm.
And correct me if I'm wrong, it was about $9,400. And then your second purchase was for 15,000 points. And when you told me, that was 15,000 points that we bought for $146,000, which my jaw dropped, because no one would, unless they just completely had no clue, would pay $9 for points when they sell for about $4. And the down payment would have been $43,000, and the amount financed $102,000. But then I said, I just can't believe that. So what did you learn that you actually purchased when I suggested you call Hilton?
Right. When I first looked at my paperwork, I was reading something that I thought was what I purchased, but it was just a presentation of an offer, which we didn't luckily purchase. So then I checked and got a copy of my contract, and what I really purchased was not that $102,000 payment, So it's so confusing, because I couldn't remember. I just knew I was owing them money. Just like when I first purchased, I purchased it by myself. That first one for $8,000, because I thought, I want to travel. My husband's really busy and travels for his job, and I wanted to be able to take the kids and travel on my own. It looked easy. Oh, look, you just make a phone call, book a wonderful place with 5 stars, and go vacation, worry-free, which I found out isn't correct either. And when I came home and told him what I purchased without him, he goes, well, what'd you get? And he was asking me questions. And I kind of, secondhand, I wasn't sure. I said, well, this, and he would ask me more questions. Well, I'm not sure. He says, you better find out how that works. If you bought that, you better know how it works so we can use it. Well, since then, he came to the second presentation where we were again duped, but he was along with for that one. And he got to realize how confusing it is, and all the things they allude and tell you, but then you're not sure if they're true. You're not sure if that's exactly what you got. And so then we were in the whole boat together afterwards going, what did we just do? And then when you have questions, of course, you can't reach them to ask them. Anyway, I forgot.
How do you feel?
Because I was rambling.
How do you feel you were deceived on the second purchase?
Oh, well, they made it sound so good, like you could just go anywhere. And I really, you just said that purchasing a timeshare with the idea of rental is not the reason to buy it. But I did have that in the back of my head, because I thought, oh, great, if I can't use it, or I'm too busy, because we're very busy people, we have lots going on, I just thought I could rent it out. And I went through cancer, and I thought, oh, if I get sick again, no problem, I can rent it out, and that can help pay for the maintenance fees. But then now I find I'm not supposed to rent it. I couldn't rent it out or sell my points or any of that they made sound so easy with just a, snap of the fingers.
Was it the first presentation or the second presentation where they said you could rent your points out?
Actually, it was the third one.
Okay. All right.
I think
Now,
we might have included it too in the second one, but we had so much going on there. That was in Las Vegas. But the third one, when we went to Hawaii on one of our free trips, that's when I kind of was told more about the renting thing and how easy it would be, but I found out it isn't.
well, actually, the rules for Diamond is you cannot rent to anyone you don't know, and you cannot rent using a third-party website like Koala or Red Week or Tug. So, and what's interesting, since we're moving on to the third presentation, the third transaction that you did, your sales agent in 2022, this family, Ron and Susan, in 2019, the same sales agent on Oahu. We purchased 8,500 points for 39,000. Hawaii points are a better investment. Hawaii points, Diamond Sells and Collections, U.S. collection and Hawaii collection. And he mentioned that Hawaii properties gain in value. They have no resale value because of limited spaces for new development and because Asian tourists are buying up properties. He also said that maintenance fees are going to go up in the U.S. collection because of damages from recent hurricanes. Lori, does that sound familiar?
Yes, it does. Oh, they didn't say Asian. They said the Canadians were purchasing down there and retiring.
Twisted the. Now, what's really sad is we had Roy Simmons, who has done a YouTube with his daughter. He's a Navy veteran, like shared his husband. And he got, I call it the ping pong upsell, because he went to Florida and said he was told that, they're way more valuable. Then he went to Florida and they told him, you shouldn't have bought Hawaii points, because if there's a hurricane in Hawaii or a tsunami, there's fewer resorts to absorb the damages. We actually had a report from someone that bought in Virginia where that sales agent was showing decaying air conditioners in Hawaii as a reason why they should not have bought in Hawaii. There are thousands of complaints. We maybe hear from one family on average a day, but large exit companies hear from 3,000 families a week. It's just out of control. And yes, when a sales agent says you can go anywhere, you can go anywhere with a timeshare, but that wasn't as much your problem, I don't think, as the fourth purchase, which go ahead and tell us how that just completely destroyed your lives financially.
Well, right. He talked us into more, and he wanted us to mortgage our house, which we simply refused to do, take out a second mortgage or whatever. And then he came back with a great solution. All of a sudden he applied for American Express for us both, for me for like 24,000 and my husband for about, I think 4,000 or 5,000 to reach a $26,000, must have been a $29,000 purchase. And so we signed that, which we probably shouldn't have done, but when you look back, you're just talked into it so smoothly. And next thing you know, we have payments for our Diamond Resort, and then we have credit card payments too.
And why did you buy additional points a fourth time?
Well, we made a big mistake with the purchase before. That salesman didn't do a good job, and we should have bought something else. You should have bought these points, and they're no longer going to be worth anything, and you're not getting your bang for your buck. They prey on your weakness. My weakness is I'm a people pleaser and I want to travel and bring my family with. My husband's weakness, they honed in on right away, is he wants a good deal. You want a bang for your buck. If something's a good deal, you're going to buy it. And they learn to hone in on whatever your weakness is for purchases.
So what was it specifically that made you buy the fourth time? And where was it?
We were down in Missouri. And yeah, we thought we should purchase because it wasn't worth, we shouldn't have purchased Hawaiian. They were no longer going to be valuable and it was going to be hard to get in there.
But
in Hawaii.
you purchased additional Hawaii points in Missouri?
No, we purchased the US, I believe the US collection.
Oh, I thought you bought additional Hawaii points in Branson.
Not exactly sure now. It's been like,
Yeah, right. It's been some time. And this was in August of 2022, and that was when Hilton had just bought Diamond Resorts. Was that
yeah. And
was that discussed at all?
Yeah, we had been told in Hawaii that there may be a, HGV, the purchase coming for that, but we didn't change anything until we got to Missouri. Then he told us, "Oh gosh, you got to switch over to the HGV or you're going to lose everything. You're going to miss out." And he told us actually that we already missed deadlines, but he could fix it. He could get us in. If we made a purchase, then we could get the AGV max switched over, not lose points and not lose vacation spots and eligibility and all that.
Well, and this is in direct opposite to what CEO Mark Wang said in his press releases, that Diamond members, and I'm a Diamond member, will not lose anything, any locations. And actually, I've stayed in Hilton rebranded locations. So upgrading to HGV Max is the right thing to do for the right family, but it's not the right thing for the wrong reasons, that you're going to lose locations or your maintenance fees are going to skyrocket. So did you get a lot of collection calls? People are always posting what happens when you stop paying. So you stopped paying around the end of 2022, I believe.
Right. Yeah. Oh, yes. We got a lot of collection calls, and then I finally started telling them, "Well, if you're going to record me, then I'm going to record you." Well, then they wouldn't speak to me.
And did you reach out to any attorneys for advice?
Well, I first tried to go through the transitions program, but I did not qualify for that. And
Because you had a loan.
right. Of course, I
Yeah.
didn't know that, so I didn't qualify for the loan. So then when they started, when I received a collection letter, that's when I went to an attorney.
And what was his advice?
I got subpoenaed, and he kind of told me that I was there's not much you can do against American Express, but we did try. We tried to show deception, and we tried to show all that they're in cahoots together. American Express is in cahoots with these timeshares because they know what's going on. They're just not admitting it.
Right. And if somebody wants to buy Marriott, I go right to Sherida at her firm or Magical Realty in Orlando. They're absolute experts in Marriott. If someone wants to buy into Hilton, as Destination Timeshare has just said, buy a deed on resale. And our go-to for Hilton is Judy Kozlowski in Orlando. She is probably too busy to come on the show. She's been at this for like 30 years. And we've had reports of salespeople saying, oh, if you buy a deed on resale with Hilton, your points don't work, and that's just not true. So the good thing about and then there are some general practitioners. We had Jessica O'Daniel from Redbud Realty in Oklahoma on, and she will accept listings for Vacation Village, whereas some, we have John Raymond is resort reseller. He will not accept Vacation Village or Westgate. So consider talking to these secondary market brokers. A lot of people don't even realize that there is a secondary market. So now you had the $24,000 bill from American Express. You first contacted me, and I have the greatest respect for the attorney. I think he was more of a debt collection bankruptcy attorney.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, he wasn't a timeshare attorney, but in your situation, that was absolutely appropriate to call that kind of an attorney. And I was so impressed that he said, try to work with American Express on your own. So what was the final outcome, which is why I asked you to be on the show today, is all by yourself, you were able to, maybe not have the happiest ending, but were able to cut some of the losses.
Well, it was almost $24,000 for me. And then I called them, 2 or 3 phone calls, and then we tried to negotiate, And I got them down to like 17,500. And then I said, well, let me think, I kind of put them off because I was trying to think of what to do. And then after like the third phone call, I called them and I just told them, I said, look, I have a little chunk of money. If you want to take this money, I have it now. If you wait, it's going to trickle away because, money slips through your fingers. And I have, 2 children going through divorce. So I'm trying to help them out. I said, I have this money right now. If you will settle for 10,200, I will do that. And she says, let me check. And then, put me on hold forever and come back. And then they decided they'd accept that 10,200, which I thought was pretty good from 17,500. And I thought, I don't want to keep messing around and have them take me to court because they did subpoena me. So I went ahead and settled for 10,200, thinking I'd pay more anyway if I had to hire an attorney just to get out from it.
People say to just walk away, but if you just walk away and you ignore a subpoena, then they can go to court and get a judgment and put a lien on your personal assets. And again, the reason that Hilton does have some resale values and to their timeshares, but I think it's probably the same as Marriott, where not all properties have the same saleability. And were you dealing with American Express, or were you dealing with a collection agency or a law firm? Who were you talking to?
With American Express when the calls would be coming. And then I thought, well, maybe I can, negotiate them down. Well, then those calls stopped. They went ahead and turned me over to a collection agency. So then I did negotiate with the collection agency.
Was that a law firm or was it a
It was
collection
a law
agency?
firm in Minnesota that had subpoenaed me. So it was a collection law firm is what I dealt with then.
That specializes. Now, I'd like, Cassandra, I think, had to go back to work, but having listened to Sherda, Lori, and 16 other people that have been on the show or more, I hear the same thing over and over again. And I'm going to ask both of you to comment on what we feel are the 5 needed changes. And Kim is always saying we need to change the laws, and we do, but we're battling $5 million that the timeshare industry lobby automatically bills maintenance fees in small amounts. And so the first one is buyers are demanded to buy on the same day. Now we're all used to, specials for Memorial Day specials, Veterans Day, Veterans Weekend specials, but it's carried to an extreme in timeshare, especially since there is little to no secondary market and it's financed between 12 to 20%. So did both of you experience pressure that you had to buy today?
Oh,
let's start with you then, Lori.
Absolutely. I mean, that's, of course, right up my husband's alley. Well, it's a special. Today's the day. If you don't, do it now, you're losing out, and you hate to do that. So, yep, definitely.
And Sherda, you've bought from Westgate, you bought from Vacation Village. I'm aware of one other developer that you've bought from. So you've probably attended a number of presentations. Have you ever been able to dodge the buy the same day?
No, but we have 2 or 3 times we have rescinded within the period, the rescission period. But it's totally nerve-wracking. It's PTSD causing, just to hear other people's stories, to go through listening to these not developers, but the agents, and they bring in the most powerful ones towards the end. And it's very scary. It's very scary to try to get out of it. And our problem is we believe people. We trust people.
Right.
But now we are pretty hardened. We don't trust anybody anymore.
I know it's sad because we've lost a lot of sleep and the agony over it, the stress of it. Oh my gosh.
And there's there's a tag team that goes with it. It's very hard to resist. I've been there myself. Okay, my second one is and I did talk to a lobbyist who said this was the most reasonable thing he's ever asked a lawmaker. Is the oral representation clause is buried in about 80 pages of fine print. if you see something on TV or in a magazine, it usually says this is a solicitation. Well, if you're an existing owner, I'm sure you've been told this is not a sales session. I'm not a salesperson, and the oral representation clause, why cannot it be on? Usually, you're given an email or an appointment card at the bottom that it would say, "Do not rely on oral representations." Now, were either of you aware of the fact that you cannot believe anything a sales agent says when you attended any of your meetings? But if you attended subsequent meetings, did you ever see that in a contract? Sheridan, let's start with you.
Yes, our contract with Vacation Village, it's not in small print buried in 80 pages. It's towards the beginning into the contract, but it's in large type. But see, they have some kind of mind control thing going on. And you're on vacation, so you have vacation brain. So they've got it all worked out where they can fearlessly put that out there, and you don't even know what you can't even think straight, and you just want to get out of there, get those contracts signed, and go on your vacation. And I'm sure they trust that mentality that their victims have to just sign everything regardless of what it says.
And Laurie, were you aware of the oral representation clause?
No. I mean, even if you were to start looking through it, as soon as you look down and start paging through it, they start talking about something, or, they interrupt your thoughts. They aren't going to let you study that paperwork.
No, they just tell you what's on it. Here, this is we want to get this done quick here. It says this, go ahead and sign it.
Right.
Yeah,
Well,
a lifetime contract signed in less than 5 minutes after you finally cave in after 4 hours.
Or 7
Vacation brain. I wish I were on my vacation. 4 hours of abuse to me is 4 hours of abuse. But then they take less than 5 minutes to go over a 50-page contract that binds you for life.
Yeah.
Well, the rebuttal to that would be that you have your state mandated period of 3 to 10 days where you have time to review your contract.
It takes at least a week to review a real estate contract, mortgage or anything like that. So I just don't buy into the rules that are being allowed for timeshares. And you two have your real estate license. My sister's in the mortgage industry, and she had to get some licenses, and she takes classes all the time. And she even told me, she said, Kim, they have this thing with everyone has to abide by this with exception of timeshares.
Yeah.
Did you see that when you were doing anything in real estate? Yes, you did. So it says everyone has to abide by this with exception of timeshares. And I go, you're kidding me. And she goes, no. So it's very, interesting to me that lawmakers are causing probably the biggest problem in all of this by allowing these laws to exist with exception of to timeshares. But, Irene, let's go on because, you're talking about, buyers being demanded to buy on the same day. It's an anxiety rush, right? It's this anxiety of get it done. Or representation is overlooked. You are signing this saying that it doesn't matter what was said. You agreed to what is being signed, but you really weren't read every item that was being signed. I mean, so what's next on the list? I mean, this is getting big.
Well, before Laurie meant something while we're on proposals, and that outrageous $146,000 proposal is at the bottom. I've received those proposals before, and at the bottom it says you are not allowed to show this to anyone outside of your resort. Now, can you imagine wanting to sell your home and you receive a contract to sell your home, and it says that you cannot show this to anyone, not to a lawyer, not to an accountant, not to your mom, dad, son, or daughter? that, where are the lawmakers in all of this? So
So again, you're telling me another condition that real estate has to abide by, with exception to timeshares.
Yep, I would agree with that statement. Now,
we need to get this changed.
And it's only because of and we have to start that. So Sherida and I have started this. We've reached out to a media outlet, and I think we need to get a number of people to do that. But it's because of the 17 episodes that we've done that I realized that one glaring problem is you can be promised an oceanfront and you have a view of the parking lot, but there's no way to determine that by reading the contract. So because you're presented a book, and Sherida, you've been through this with 3 different, so you're presented a book of all the great places that you can go to, but you're not giving access to the booking site. So it just seems logical that the booking site should be, the rescission period should start the day that you have access to the booking site. Now, you bought a week, Sherida, but you've also, Lori, you're the one that bought points. So I think this is, you kind of know more what you have when you have a week. But even that, if you have a floating week, did either of you try to book anything before you, was there anything you could have determined by having access to the booking site? Does that make sense?
Well, when I was in Hawaii, there was a book laying there that you could look at places to rent for the points alongside to give you an idea of where you could go. But I didn't, like when you went on I had trouble even in Las Vegas. I couldn't log on, but one of the sales girls could log on and show me what she did and where she went. But mine, for some reason, didn't work.
Okay, so that's the third thing, access to the booking site. And then the fourth thing is the recorded closing. And it is and I contacted the Arizona Attorney General, and when I was first informed in 2017 that Diamond was going to start recording the closing after over 1,000 Diamond members complained to the Arizona Attorney General. And by the way, the Arizona Attorney General supported legislation proposed by an Arizona state representative to allow the timeshare buyer 24 hours before signing a contract. It passed 100% in the House of Representatives. And then ARDA was the first to speak at the Senate hearing, and it got shot down so fast you can't even believe it. And so these are people that are supposed to be on our side. Who would disagree that any consumer should not have the opportunity? Now, one problem with the bill, I think it was a requirement. So I can understand some people wanting to buy that day, but they should at least be offered the opportunity to think on it. So the recorded closing I don't know, this has happened more with points, I think, than weeks, maybe not, and it's only been since 2017. Were you ever told what to say or not to say if your closing was recorded or during the closing, either of you?
Our sales agent told us, I'm not supposed to tell you this, but I have a friend who can sell your Westgate and rent your bonus weeks with Vacation Village to pay it off. We were supposed to keep our mouths shut in regards to that at the closing.
And did she say why you couldn't disclose that at the closing?
No.
And I think the worst complaint that I've heard is Brianna, and I've asked her to be an upcoming guest. This is with Capital Vacations. The timeshare industry lobby is ARDA, the American Resort Development Association, and the chairman of ARDA Rock, the resort owner coalition that is supposed to be a help for timeshare owners, he worked for Capital Resort. He still is, I think, on an advisory capacity. But here she's a single mom and told she doesn't even have money for the down payment, $4,000 for the down payment. And they said, oh, we have a team member that will help you rent. And so she was just, she didn't know which way to turn, because when she got a call from their team member, it was someone that worked for another company. They didn't work for Capital Resorts. And then here she struggled to pay the $4,000. They said, don't worry, if you rent, you can pay that $4,000 back in a couple of months. You can pay your loan off probably within 2.5 years. They did not disclose that rental person who works for Rent, Sell, Buy, I don't recall the exact name, that she had to pay a $1,000 upfront fee plus $800 for 8 ads. And don't worry, once these are posted, they'll be renting left and right. Nothing rented. Okay, now, this is where sometimes I can't take calls or read these things before going to bed at night. Multiple calls to the sales agent, and then she got a call from corporate who said, well, first of all, you're violating the strategy by renting. And she's like, they told me to rent. And they also told her, don't say anything. Well, why shouldn't I say anything if that's the reason, the only way I can buy it? Well, because it can't appear as if it's for income gain. Do you see how easy it is to rationalize this? And then she said, but they told me not to say anything. And then this jerk says, well, are you telling me you lied on a contract? Oh my, she was crying. And
yeah, they'll throw it back on you rather than, and the blame on you rather than where it really belongs. And, it's disgusting. It's disgusting. And why anybody walks into any of these sales is, even, if you're going to give me a free dinner, I don't think it's worth my 4 hours to sit and be harassed. I'm sorry, but the whole sales pitch, if you really look at it, is a bully session that's nicely laid out. They kind of just nicely bully you into doing something you don't want. And we have a great video on their training session that we should play. But let's talk about the fifth problem. The fifth problem that you and I agree are the biggest problem.
Yeah, first of all, I just talked about the recorded closing, and you cannot hear it with many companies without a subpoena. And you cannot issue a subpoena unless you file an arbitration case. And we had attorney Howard Prosnitz on our show before, who is proceeding with a class action only because Wyndham did not pay their American arbitration fees. So they've changed their contract to have an alternative forum. And so the problems with arbitration, especially for people in the military that are losing or finding their security clearances in jeopardy because of timeshare defaults. And the jurisdiction is in the case of the Florida resorts, they want the jurisdiction in Florida, which isn't convenient for people in the military. A judge is paid for by taxpayer dollars, and arbitrators are hired at $400 to $800 an hour. Who are they going to like? So naturally, they're going to pick arbitrators that are going to rule more on the side of industry. And there have been some extreme adverse rulings with people that were represented by an attorney. One family on the East Coast were ordered to pay a $50,000 loan and $60,000 in the attorney's fees for the resort. Another family in their 70s disputing $5,000 were ordered to pay $95,000, $79,000 of the resort's attorney's fees. An active duty service member that said on the day that they purchased, I think we need to cancel this. And they were told, you can't, you already signed. Now, it's one thing not to disclose the rescission period, which, they really don't have to do that. But when you're asked point blank, can I cancel? And they say you can't when there's a 5-day rescission period. On top of that, they weren't sold enough points for a family of 6, a $12,000 dispute. They were ordered to pay $66,000, of which $55,000 was the resort's attorney's fees. I did get involved with the $95,000 judgment, and that timeshare company did reverse that judgment. But the active duty service member is still, I haven't talked to them lately, but they are represented by an attorney now. So
let's talk about something real quick, because you two are in real estate and in closings and everything. And let's go back to this one about the recorded closings. Because you have to subpoena them if you have an issue. But why aren't they provided at the closing, just like all the paperwork? Why isn't the recording part of the package that you receive?
Well,
Can
because
you request it when you close? Can you request it?
Yeah, they will not give it to you. I mean, I'm most familiar with diamond resorts, but to me, what the law should say is, if the recorded closing, let's see what destination has to say, is only there to protect the developer, not the buyer. Exactly.
Right.
And when
We know that.
Diamond's PR firm called me in 2017, Irene, we're going to go beyond the closing. We're going to go beyond the assurance of discontinuance. We're going to record the closing. I flipped out then. I said, this is just going to be used as an entrapment. And I can't tell you how many times I've heard, well, they told me not to say anything about refinancing, because I used to work in finance, so my contacts are out of the industry. Don't say anything about renting, because I have contacts outside of and so the reason this show is so important is for the people that say, you should have done your due diligence, or you should just use it and enjoy it. Well, we had 4 widows, including you, Kim, on last week, that you can't just use it and enjoy it for so many. And there are so many ways to dodge the rescission period. There are so many things that are not in the contract that cannot be determined. And they're simple things. So we keep saying, let's change the laws, but we need to take the next step and really try to do that with or without $5 million a year.
Well, and I think we've got a kickoff here with our 5 items, but I'm going to add a 6th, the one that irritates me the most. And generally speaking, in any consumer situation, they need to apply anything that costs you money as an opt-out first, and then you have to opt in to be able to charge you for it. In this case, timeshare ARDA is allowed to automatically opt you in on your monthly payment to pay them a fee for their company.
It's an annual fee of $3 to $10.
They're allowed to automatically opt you in, and it should be an opt-out fee first. That's a consumer thing, and they're allowed to do it the reverse of any other consumer industry product. I have busted a few other companies that have done this, and immediately I turn them in, and immediately it is fixed.
Well, but Marriott is a cut above, and so Marriott is opt-in. And I read on Tug that Shell, who Marriott bought, is now opt-in. That's just one example of how it just works. Just take the time to call these resale agents and get the opinion of all of them.
Yes. And unfortunately, we're at the end of the hour, and this has been so enlightening today. And I appreciate all the comments that have come in and the questions. Please don't be afraid to contact us and come on our show and share your story, because Irene is here to help slay the people who are violating our rights and make you a non-victim.
And share it as on our Tarta board as well.
That's right. So everyone, enjoy your week, and we'll see you next week, 1:00 Monday. Have a great day. All right.
Bye.
Two.